You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Who is Kamala Harris? She won't hold news conferences and rarely takes questions from reporters. Instead, she reads the same speech off teleprompter again and again.
The path to the White House runs right through this state.
Her campaign also releases carefully produced videos.
We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead.
That would be good. But would Harris's policies allow that? America's on track to bankruptcy.
The vice president votes in the affirmative.
Harris repeatedly casts tie-breaking votes to spend more of your money.
Unlocking the ability to pass a COVID relief package without Republican votes.
Last election, I ran a game show that compared candidates' spending plans. It found that Trump and Biden wanted to increase spending by more than $200 billion. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders by trillions. But I was surprised that the biggest spending plans came from Kamala Harris. Her proposals would have exploded our debt.
The highest inflation in 41 years.
Biden's irresponsible spending ignited nasty inflation. Imagine what inflation would be like if Harris had been president. In her first policy speech, she's proposed almost $2 trillion in new spending.
Provide first-time home buyers with $25,000.
And $2 trillion small compared to what she wanted to do during COVID. Give every American $2,000 a month. That would have cost $21 trillion.
Kamala Harris has given the Iranians billions of dollars, and they keep on buying weapons and attacking not just Israelis, but they keep on attacking Americans. It's crazy. Stop giving bad guys money. It's not that complicated. It's a very simple principle in American diplomacy. The second thing that I say is, look, it is not our business to micromanage Israel's war in the Middle East. Hamas is an evil organization. Thank you. Hamas is an evil organization. What we should be doing as an ally of Israel is empowering them to wipe Hamas off the face of the earth and get this war over. It's very simple. I think the problem with Kamala Harris's policies is it's like the dumbest of two possible worlds, right? You're saying that you want to, that's Kamala Harris for you, but you want to prolong. She's saying that she wants the war to end as quickly as possible, but she refuses to provide the necessary stuff so that Israel can end the war as quickly as possible. She says that she cares about innocent civilian casualties, and I do too. I don't want innocent people to die in this conflict. The solution to that, though, is to give people precision weapons that minimize civilian casualties and let Israel destroy Hamas and get this thing over once and for all. That's simple. Kamala Harris is pursuing the worst of all possible worlds. Donald Trump's going to bring some peace and stability and some common sense back to the United States of America foreign policy.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
No question, she told CNN. But now Harris wants votes in Pennsylvania where fracking provides jobs. Her campaign now says she won't ban fracking. And they even say Republicans claiming she wanted a fracking ban is false, an obvious attempt to distract. But what's false? That's what she said.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
She also wanted to force gun owners to sell their guns to the government.
I support a mandatory buyback program.
Mandatory. But again, today,
A Harris campaign spokesperson tells us that the vice president would no longer require this.
so who is the real Kamala Harris? She used to brag about being a tough prosecutor against even the smallest offenses.
I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
But then when progressives said abolish the police, she flip-flopped. And during the George Floyd riots, when people were looting and setting fires, Harris tweeted, help post bail for those protesting. Now that the policing pendulum has swung back, she again brags about locking people up.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
During the 2019 Democratic debate, Tulsi Gabbard pointed out her hypocrisy.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
That was true.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like in
And
college, or-
I inhale. I did inhale.
You did inhale? Okay.
Another criticism of Harris is that she's nasty to people who work for her.
Incredibly, there's been a 92% turnover on her staff.
Politico called her office abusive, an unhealthy environment. Now, if she were a hard-charging boss who got results, that might be okay. But we know what happened when Biden put her in charge of the border.
More than 302,000 migrants crossed the southern border.
Of course more people crossed. Harris promised them free stuff.
Medicare for all to people who are in this country illegally?
I am opposed to any policy that would deny any human being public education or public health, period.
Today, the legacy media want to protect Harris because they hate Trump so much. They were more honest when Harris ran against other Democrats.
You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
Yeah. Well, actually, the nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator.
GovTrack's ranking of Harris was up on their site for 5 years. But once it looked like she would get the nomination, they deleted the page. When questioned about it, they said, votes from one legislative session are not sufficient to create a reliable portrait.
Now, let's hear from the woman who's going to save the world from fascism, according to the loopy left. Here is Kamala speaking out not against radical Islamic terrorism and illegal immigration. No. Here she says we must have the courage to object to the terms radical Islamic terrorism and illegal aliens.
And we must have the courage to object when they use that term, radical Islamic terrorism, which ignores how Muslims have overwhelmingly been the greatest victims of terror. And we must also have the courage to reject that term illegal alien.
That was Harris talking at a mosque back in 2016, and the timing is important because that was at the height of Islamic State's reign of terror, where they brutally murdered those they considered non-believers, where they abducted, raped and tortured thousands of women and children, including Yazidis. And there is Kamala in 2016 objecting to the term radical Islamic terrorism. But that won't stop the enthusiasm from the useful idiots of the left. And it didn't take long after Kamala Harris was installed as the Democrats' presidential candidate for the media to start rewriting her history. Apparently, she was never the border czar. She never had the most left-wing voting record in the Senate. And she was never considered a liability in the Biden administration. Those verifiable facts are all dismissed as right-wing conspiracies, as is the fact that she helped raise bail money for thugs during the BLM riots. Look at this headline claiming Trump falsely accuses Harris of donating to Minnesota Freedom Fund, bailing out dangerous criminals. Not only did Kamala do just that, her tweet is still up. Chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. She posted that at the height of the BLM riots, and guess what? That link is still active. You can still donate, and there is Kamala's smiling face on the donation page. And Trump's campaign is doing its best to prevent this bit of history being memory hold. This is among their most devastating ads.
Harris sending this out on X. If you're able to chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota.
Thanks to Harris's promotion, the group reportedly raised $35 million in just a few weeks.
Darnica Floyd, charged with second-degree murder for stabbing a friend to death. She got out of jail, too. A twice-convicted rapist, currently charged with kidnapping and sexual assault, and he walks out, too.
The Freedom Fund raked in donations when it was promoted by many, including now Vice President Kamala Harris.
John Michael Tillman shot and killed a passenger on a train platform after reportedly being released from jail 3 weeks prior. All thanks to the Minnesota Freedom Fund.
Donovan Boone was charged with breaking into the home of an ex-girlfriend and choking her. Freedom Fund bailed him out for $3,000 cash, and he hasn't shown up for court since.
I often don't even look at a charge specifics when I bail someone out.
The Hennepin County attorney called out the Minnesota Freedom Fund for bailing Mosley out of jail twice previously, even though he was arrested for having a gun in the courthouse.
The Minnesota Freedom Fund, which pays cash bail for low-income criminals, paid Tims's entire $10,000 bail in cash.
11 days later, police found a man bleeding from the head and ears in this alley. Police were able to arrest Tims in connection to this violent assault.
Howard was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. The Minnesota Freedom Fund acknowledged supporting Howard's bail.